start saying something super personal after you get done. Every time you have something, you just pause it.
I know. I'm like, what the answer to number C is? But I was gonna, um, but like, it's really cool though. I like one of the things I do love about you is how aware you are and how authentic you are to yourself. Like you are so like everything you've ever done seems to be like just so driven by authenticity and like going from like your experience with like with like the wilderness, like traveling and like and camping and all that stuff to finance. Like it seems like it wasn't like I never felt like you were like, oh, I'm gonna be a grown up now.
Well, there was a time I thought I had to be. I tried, being a square peg in a round hole for a long time. I was, in the financial services world. It's not the most high energy, fun loving, playful sphere, And so there was a long time where I spent a lot of energy trying to get out of that world or figure out where I fit in it. And I finally figured it out, but I think it takes a few wrinkles and gray hairs to get there. Like when no one's listening to you when you're 30 in any industry, you have less flexibility to kind of bust out this authenticity, right? But then if you really think about it, I think you and I both know you're still trying to figure out who the hell you are for a long time. And and even at almost 46, I still know that who I'm going to be when I'm 56 and 66 is going to turn around and look at this version and be like, oh well, that's out with this and with that. But I think through it all, if you maintain, and it probably has something to do with maybe being a little self-centered with that work, that personal work, or taking that much time to understand yourself because you had to. It's like being on a vacation with somebody for a really long time. You get sick of some parts and you want to fix it, make it better, or learn about who you are in a new way. And so, as far as the authenticity goes, I think getting to know who that authentic self is takes some time, takes some energy, don't you think?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I just I the like the other night I was talking to my co-parent and I was like I was tired and I was a little cranky. I had some stuff going on with my parents, and so I started telling her about it. It's like it's not her problem, obviously, but she was multitasking, and I was like 5 years ago, like when we were married, I would have gone to town, like entitled bratty kid that I am or
Yeah.
was. I would have gone to town like while she was multitasking while I was doling out. And I was like, I've done so much personal development work that I was just like, I caught myself being annoyed, and I was like, oh, you know what? She's like, I'm sorry, I'm multitasking. She had work to do. Like she like it's like, understandable, And
Yep.
she's like, sorry, I'm multitasking, but keep going. I'm listening, and I know she's listening, And I was
Yep.
like, shut the fuck up. Like stop me. I'm telling myself, shut
Yep.
up.
Yep.
Stop being a brat. And if you need to get off the call right now, just get off the phone.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but the point is that like that was so like to your
The
point, I'm like
awareness that takes is huge.
huge. And then I texted her right afterwards. I was like, oh hey, I recently saw High Fidelity. It's so good. Like, and she's like, I know, right?
It's so good, of course.
It's so good. I didn't know
Yeah.
that when I was a kid. Like it came out when I was 20, and I was like this John Cusack. He's boring. Like I don't.
Yeah, he is kind
You know. But like the point is that Amy, like the point is that like I feel that like that resonates with me what you're saying that like it is such a progression and again this example was me seeing how much personal development work I've done and how self-absorbed I am in a way like you said like the selfishness or not selfishness but like
of.
the
You're right. It's not selfish, but it's egocentric. I mean,
egocentric
but
for sure.
But I mean, we all are, and let's just face it. And I mean, okay, so I can't remember. I'm just drawing blanks because we're having, proper nouns when we're having a conversation. Maybe you can refresh me on it. It's a very famous book. But when I learned how to become the observer of my actions and thoughts and separate myself from it, I feel like that's when that hit a home run with me in my head. Like, oh, okay, so like if I can just take the energy to pull back and observe the situation as the observer instead of being in it and emotional that, and then also learning that the feelings associated with everything that's going on, it's like I just imagine them like a cloud, like they move by, they're not going to be there forever. It's like I am not my feeling. And for a while I used to love, I mean, I'm a super emotional human, so I used to be told like, you're too emotional or so you learn that your strengths are your weaknesses. So then I identified with this emotional being. But then that identity, I'm thinking in my 20s and early 30s, then that emotional Amy is so emotional became like like a security blanket, like a thing I wanted to hold on to as part of my identity, rather than just let the feelings come and go and recognize that that's okay. So those two things like really helped me not be so reactive,
You know,
maybe.
it's so cool hearing you talk. This is really cool hearing you talk about emotions and stuff. And I love this topic of like I've been thinking a lot about this too, where I'm like if I get self conscious about my gut, I'm like, well, you know, it's a lot of self absorption to be that like committed to working out and to like getting like perfect ripped abs and stuff. And I'm like, is it though, or is it like really being healthy and being committed to your health and wellness practice, right?
Right.
So it's cool to talk to you about this because you are a person that deals with one of the most emotional topics of all, which is money.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure money is part of identity for. I mean, I'm obsessed with money now. Like I love money. All I do is talk money with people all day.
I'm so glad that it's nice to hear that now, because most people look at that as like, here we are talking deep about personal development and who you are. And then you're talking about money, and most people, clam up or like, that's really uncomfortable. I think I've told you before, when you're a financial advisor in a room and you mention that, you see the shift. If they haven't gotten to know you yet, you see people take 3 steps back and it's not because, well, maybe they're afraid of being sold, but I think I have a warm energy, but it's more because, I might have to talk about something that makes me really uncomfortable if I talk to this person, or I might have to sound like I don't know anything if I don't know the latest stock picks, or trends, or yeah, yeah. Oh boy.
For sure. Like this is what I love this. So I'm like let's dive into this. Like so first I want to know like as an emotional person, so you're talking about like having all these emotions. Were you always good with money or like what spawned like the development into the money world where you do such a good job of combining and being sensitive to this is like such a differentiator. Like you're so sensitive to emotions and self-awareness and personal development and all that and you've been able to combine it. How did you get to here? That's my $1 million question. How?
Millions of campfire talks with myself and with others, but no, I have my money story, those things that happen young and when we're young that help kind of drive some of the behaviors and the biases and the beliefs that we have about ourselves. They can have to do with money or not, but the actual money stories that I had as a child, yes, I've always been very aware of money. First, it was not for an awesome reason. My parents were divorced young, and it seemed like the only time my two parents were ever present together in my life, they were having discussions about money. And so I knew that it was important. It was the only thing that could bring these two people. I couldn't even make these two people talk. Surely they were talking about schedules and whatnot, but it was impactful to me that these two people had to coordinate and cooperate on my behalf over money. So that was a formative experience, maybe a negative formative experience. And then on a positive side, I realized, oh, I can do things to get candy. Like I can sweep driveways and have lemonade stands, and then I can go get what I want. I can work for something that I want. So money always interested me. But it's funny when it came to picking a major in college and going with outdoor recreation and resource management, there's not a lot of money in running camps. You make $19,000 a year with 200 kids in your front yard. It's not. And so I've gone in and out. My relationship with money has ebbed and flowed. It's these days we teach girls they're good at math. When I was a kid, it was like, oh, math, she's a great reader. Her reading comprehension is really high, but I was good at math. Forget about it. I was just as good at math as anybody else. It's just we weren't taught to enjoy math. And so when I realized that math has a black and white answer, and that there's that's something you can hang on to, adding and subtracting. I mean, it sounds kind of corny, but like that did start to attract me. But I didn't have any coursework in high school. I went all the way through calculus, but then when my chosen field isn't math driven. And so it wasn't until I actually got into the business of financial services and realized I was going to be using these tools, the tool of money, throughout my career, that I realized, you know what, I actually kind of like this side of it. I like the fact that money can beget money. Like, isn't that cool? you know? So yeah, it's just a
Like
little.
so it's so funny going back to money history. Like, I love that you said that like this is a way to get candy or this is the way to get what I want. It's like from a very early age, you understood it's a tool.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, like for what it's worth, like I did not understand that. For me, money was the value of money was, yeah, you get something like you get a toy or whatever you need to express yourself, but the mountain of shame that comes with it from
Mhm.
like my dad was always like, oh, the golden rule, he who has the gold makes the rules, and my dad would always say, what are you gonna do when I lose all the money? What are you gonna do when you don't have, I have it now, so I give it to you. But it was always the shame, like, and it got worse, like, you're a spender. Like, I acquired all these money beliefs, and I spent in 2017 or 2018, I really started working on that, on
Mhm.
shifting. Do you feel that like a lot of people feel like they're not even aware of their money stories? Like they're not even aware of their relationship. Like you said, from a very early age, you saw it as a means to an end. Other people see it as shame. Other people, money's the root of all evil. You hear people say like,
You're saying it so perfectly. Yes, yes, Ron. When you sit down, so when we started working with couples more regularly, I started to notice that just like many things in a relationship, one person doesn't even acknowledge, think, understand, know that the other person just simply thinks differently. It's like you think that your perspective of something and your story is everyone's story. Again, going back to maybe personal development being a little egocentric. I mean, we all are born behind our own eyeballs, seeing our own thing, and it's like you wouldn't believe how many couples you're having a conversation with that are, in their 40s and their 50s even, that are just realizing, oh, okay, so when we walk into a car dealership and you're going into panic mode, and I personally love to be sold by a good salesman. I'd probably walk away with every car on the floor. So I'm a dangerous person to be in the room. Well, if I'm with somebody who's really a saver, or if their money personality type is constrictive, they're really having a problem with that situation. And so then when the car dealer guy leaves the room to go get his boss to get you the best deal or whatever, you're having this no yes feeling, this conversation. You don't have time to sort it all out. So when the couples can actually stop and realize, okay, you're actually a spender and I'm actually a saver. And how does that work together? And how can we help each other with those characteristics and traits? Maybe we make a rule, a 24 hours to discuss rule, or, Amy could use that rule, because otherwise, I'm like, oh, sold, I love it. And it's because I'm attracted to the energy of the situation or the person, not necessarily the purchase or the financial side of it. So there's a lot that couples can learn from one another just by opening their awareness to the fact that each other are thinking completely differently.
and it makes so much sense that you do this work. Like I love that you guys do this like unearthing work. What walk me through again? What are the types? Like I know you talk about the money types, right? There's different
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
types. Could you walk me through those, like so we know like
Yeah, sure, I
where we
can.
all?
So, I mean, there are probably layers upon layers of each type. And I think just like an Enneagram type or any other personality type, we all have all of these things inside of us. But it's like, which comes out most of the time, a money personality will come out in a stressful situation or in a big decision, when a decision needs to be made. And then you'll see it one type come out more often than not, or come out first and then have to deal with their feeling. You have to calm, little saver Amy. So the types, there's a security seeker, and a security seeker is someone who's, looking for money to act as that reassurance that their needs are going to be met. They're Maslow. They're not going to eat cat food in a box when they're retired, because they've saved and they've planned. And those types of people work very well with a financial planner. They want to plan things out. Now, a saver, it sounds similar, but they're a little different. They're saving for the love of saving, right? They get a high off of, like, I just got the cheapest deal at Macy's. They have like 10 biggest sales of the year, and that saver is there if they need something and they've researched it and they've thought about it. But they get off on just on stashing money and watching that grow, and so they can be very tight and not want to spend, regardless of if it's a need or a want, or whatever it is. But then there's a flyer, who's probably your Enneagram 4s, your artist types, your people who just would prefer we don't even talk about money. Like, money, okay, it's not. not really, part of my considerations for what I do. I do what I do because I love it. I'm passionate about it. That can be a beautiful money personality, unless it comes down to like, you got to save for retirement, right? That flyer might wake up when they're 65 and have nothing to show for it because they have lived a wonderful life, but they haven't had the forethought because they just don't think about money, right? And then there's the spender, right? And the spender is, and I'll explain how these can work together, because you have a primary and a secondary type typically. And so a spender is just that. They are the Enneagram sevens, the bright and shiny object people. Like it's going to be so easy for me to go shopping, and I never leave the mall without something. Like I can't just go into this. I mean, that's just silly. Like, you're here, let's spend some money, right? And then let's have let's go over to Starbucks and get a coffee and talk about it. Like spending. And then there's a risk taker, and that's more of the folks who are typically more of a do-it-yourselfer. They're more of a with their finances. They are comfortable taking the risks in the stock market and investments. They understand that a little risk can give a lot of reward, whereas a security seeker sees risk as a threat. A risk, because actually risk is both the opportunity to make money or to lose money. So those two are like on opposite ends of the spectrum. So if you internally, Ron, have one of these money personality types on one side, so because I'm a security seeker and a spender, I can have some pretty good internal conflicts on my own without even involving my spouse. And so you've got, at that car dealership, you've got me going, oh, I want the car, but oh man, what if I spend that money, my mortgage or my car payment's that's going to take away from my shopping, sprees, whatever. And I'm going to hem and haw over here and maybe be unable to respond to the situation. And then you've got, say, Eric over here, who's a risk taker and a spender. And he's over here he's already calculated, he's already made his decision, because he's not going to, your fear isn't going to get in the way of my opportunity. So then you've got these two people trying to have this conversation in the 3 minutes while he goes and gets the manager, puts the salesman in a pretty good spot, right?
Oh my God, I love that. So Amy, check this out. This is so awesome. Can I walk you through something I've been recently working on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So this is perfect. So I think I'm a saver. I get so much joy in seeing my bank account and seeing it like not at capacity yet, but like like seeing it like seeing it growing and big, and you're like, oh my God, it's great. And so a few weeks ago, our mutual friend Carrie Norley, she told me Carrie Norley. So she told me to read a book called Busting Loose of the Money Game. Have you ever read it?
I haven't read that one, but yes. Okay.
It's super intense. It's like quantum physics. It's like nothing exists. Like my ex-wife doesn't exist. I just created her to blah blah blah. Or like my daughter doesn't exist. I just created her to serve a purpose. And there he's like, money doesn't exist. And so the more I'm listening to it, I was like, you know what? As a saver, I'm like, you know what? If I want to really experience even more abundance this year, last year was amazing for me. This year is like looking great. Like I've had astrologists say I'm like going to come into big money this year. So I was like, okay, like I need to start spending. So I spent like a week where I was like researching. I spent a week where I was like, okay, I went to the car dealership and actually drove a car or drove two cars and like, oh, okay. I love my car though. So I was like, I don't want a new car. I went to the guitar shop, looked at new guitars. I was like, I love my guitar. I'm not that good, so I don't need a new guitar. I think I bought like a shirt that I've always wanted to buy. So that was good. And then I was like, oh, I reached out to this voice teacher, my voice is a tenor type. It's a high type. So I've never studied with someone who has the same type of voice. This guy that I directed an opera a few years ago, and I was like, you know what, I want to study voice. So I did that. So that was my big spend. I bought like voice lessons, right?
Yes.
And then you know what happened?
Tell me.
I constricted. I shut down. I felt like a spender, and then I was like, and then I had
like a spending hangover.
I had a spending hangover because I paid like, and it wasn't even that much money, But like and the voice lessons are amazing. This guy's changed my voice already, but I shut down, and then you add to it, I started having like meetings with people I don't want to work with. So I've been like, so for like 2 weeks I spent like having meetings where I'm just like, yeah, okay. Like
they were flowing at you, but it was from the wrong faucet.
It was the wrong faucet, and I was constricted about it. And you know how I get. Like, if I'm excited about someone, I'm like, oh my God, I love you. Like, get complimentary. But when I'm not, I'm like, yeah, it was great. It was great talking to
Nice
you.
talking to you.
I have a 122. Uh, you know, like
But that's one of the jargons we all have to stop. I've got a hard stop at 120. It's like that means like I don't want to talk to you anymore.
is that what I always thought like it was a real thing? No, I'm just kidding.
I just think it's bad jargon, right? We shouldn't be saying that to one another. But
Right,
anyway,
I say like I'm so sorry I have a client at one or something,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But then so then this all builds. So then I was like, okay, well I got to do all the things that I do. So when money's when I constrict about money, I don't like freak out anymore. I'm just like, okay, I feel where it is, and then I do all the meditation and all the writing and the journaling and all that stuff, right? So I did today. Literally, this happened today. I had a client who like had to move her appointment to. I have a hard stop at 2, by the way. I'm just kidding. She moved it to later today. So I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go do this meditation by Dr. Joe Sperenza. I think there's this guy. Is like a I forget, and I have to look up his name. Dispenza. Jack. He's a very famous meditation guy.
Great.
So I did this abundance meditation, and I transport. And there's a point of me telling you this long story.
I love it.
So then so I do this meditation. I'm like, it's not working. And then I like, and then it started to work. And I'm in my like future home. It's a huge, beautiful modern home. And I have this beautiful girlfriend, and my daughter's there, and like my daughter has this incredible room, and we're playing, and such an abundant lifestyle. And then I'm working with athletes. I'm like coaching athletes, not on athletics, but like on public speaking, which is
Yes.
something I want to do. And I'm coaching, and then I'm like invited to like I'm part of like I am like Brooke Castillo, like the big coach. Like she's a
Mhm.
huge coach. I'm her like her team. Like I work with all of her
Oh
people.
yeah, you're seeing the yes.
And I was
Good.
seeing like me working with these really high impactful women, like female coaches that are like killing it, making tens of millions of dollars. I'm their personal
Perfect.
presentation coach, and I'm living the dream. And then I go, how am I going to pay for all this?
And then
And I felt the zzz,
yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, because my money story is that if I have it now, I'm not going to have it later.
Ah, yeah. No, that's the yes. No,
How do
this
I
is
fix that?
well, so I love listening to that story because there's a lot of things going on there. And I think that the thing I loved about what you did at the beginning when you went and you thought, should I get a car? Should I get a guitar? Like being in a position to play a little bit around money is gives you that flow feeling, because you're not actually spending it, but you're playing with spending it. So that has a high energy, right? So playing with, can I do this? Can I do that? You chose to spend your money on probably one of your character strengths. It's probably this lifetime love of learning. You probably have a strength or a love of learning. So that feels really natural for you to spend your money on. That's easy. It's going to make you a bigger, better person. Done. But that I just want to acknowledge that playing with the money at the beginning is just almost the right vibration to even keep you in that abundant flow state, right? Uh, and so when you felt constricted all of a sudden after you did spend the money, I certainly can relate to that because I think we all can get money hangovers. But as you know, I know you know this, that it's like a breath. The money has to go in and out, it has to flow back and forth. You have to spend money in order for money to flow to you from like an abundance perspective. So I think it's great that you chose to spend on something that taps into your values, right? That's one way we can get better and better at spending. So what I would suggest to you is I know you've done plenty of self-work, we've talked about it. So tap into what you value and find areas to play with, to spend your money in those areas to bring about the types of clients and abundance, the things that you're looking for to flow at you. Because you're right. If you buy something, in your case, you did buy something that you needed, but you're still working with this habit of going there to constriction.
Because I love everything you're saying, and this is so powerful. And again, it's like, what financial advisor talks about this stuff? Like, I love that you're talking about this stuff.
But yeah, how many financial advisors have their tarot cards out before they have a conversation?
Right?
I do.
Like,
Sure. Yeah.
and they should. Like, I mean, not everyone, but like, I mean, I think to me, this is attractive because I'm like, oh, this person gets the humanistic, like, gets the emotional, gets like the core of why we need to do this. And so I love what you're saying because yeah, the idea for me that was like a really hard week for me. I was like dizzy. I was looking at dogs too. I was looking at houses. I really want a house. Like I was looking at a house. Like I was looking at all these things, and it was exhausting for me because I still had that voice of my dad being like, you know, you like basically like I make the money, you spend it, you know, from when I was growing up. And I'm on my, like, I don't, nobody pays my shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, you don't go asking people.
I don't know. Yeah. Like so it's like funny that like, um, that voice was like, it's ingrained in my body. Right. And so I love that you're saying this. And so for me, that in of itself was a win. Now that I'm listening to him, like, oh, maybe that constriction I had was good because next time I should double down now and go, what do I want to spend even more? What do I want to buy more? Because that's like like lifting weights, right? Like getting the
I
muscle
think.
stronger.
Yeah, and you might say to me, what does it mean to play with money? Well, I definitely think, okay, so we're human beings. Like our entire purpose, if you ask me, for being on this planet is to create, right? Like why would we have individual spirits if we aren't supposed to create, right? So I would say using, tapping into your creativity. So for you, I'm thinking, sing about it. Like I'm thinking, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but put yourself in the shower and sing about what it is that you want so much. For me, I love, vision boarding really works for me. I um, I don't always call it a vision board. I just love to collage. So I'll collage things that, and it's not always the big house and the mansion and the fancy car, because honestly, that's not what attracts me as much as there I am on the beach. There I am, with freedom of time affluence. There I am with, the people I love and the experiences that I'm doing. Depending on who you are and what you value, you can use your creativity to play with it, whatever outlet that is and everything. Oh, I'm not creative. No, no, yes, you are, or you wouldn't be alive. So there's something in there that you can play with a little bit. And I just think as adults, we lose this capacity. I don't know about you, but when my daughter wants to play mama kitty and baby kitty, I'm like, I can't imagine this. Like, I can't, this is hard for me to play mommy kitty for 20 minutes. And then she'll be like, that's okay, mom. I understand. Let's play mommy. You be the mommy dog and I'll be the baby dog. And I'm like, she doesn't get it at all because
I
she's living there.
I feel so much guilt about this. I
I
feel
know because you want to play.
and again, I'm a comedian. Like I should be able to get down and be mermaids and be like bees or whatever, bats. The other bats are a new thing. Like play
Yeah,
bats. And
good for her. Bats, that's new.
I know, and I love Superman, so she's onto the bat. Like what the fuck,
Yeah.
But like I wish I could get down and play. So will you play with me? And I'm like, I want to.
I
Like
wish I could. I
I used
know.
to play for hours, but it's
I
like it's so
know.
hard to transition that
As
mindset.
you know, it's like a Benjamin Button world. As you get older, you lose these like things. I wish we could bring it back as adults. So the reason I mentioned the creativity is because I know some of our creative outlets are the only real way that we can get into that flow state or that creative juice that's similar to play. It's not exactly the same. Even a walk in nature or exercise, those are adult plays. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
Or comedy shows. Just saying. Uh,
absolutely comedy shows.
absolutely. So I'm gonna ask you a hardball question now.
Okay, I'm prepared because you told me to prepare.
I know you're prepared, and I mean we were all friendly just now, but this is that moment where I'm looking under the hood now.
Okay, do it. I'm ready.
So with this notion of play
Mhm.
and free flow, why I'm really excited to ask this question. This is a hardball question.
Okay, okay.
What is your perspective then on like saving for retirement? Because isn't saving for retirement kind of counter to flow?
Ooh, oh, because it's so far nebulous, so far away. Ooh, oh, I like the question, but it doesn't scare me at all because, no, I feel like I mean, you got to give to all your buckets, right? I want you to live, and I want everyone I work with to live the lifestyle that they dream and desire of right here and now, as long as they're clear on what that is. Because it's not the things, we all know, it's not the things that are going to bring you the joy. It just really isn't. You're not going to be on your deathbed wishing you had more knickknacks, like, I mean, you're going to say something like, I wish I would have gone on more trips or spent more time with my family or taken more walks or whatever it is. So there's ways that you can be in that flow without great spending. And so that, and then, and I hope I'm not jumping everywhere, but another characteristic of being human is that, actually, because I took this course on happiness through Yale, it's the well-being or wellness class. It was on Coursera for free last year. It's the best thing I ever did. And delayed gratification is one of the places that we find joy and happiness the most, right? So if we look at retirement not as this nebulous thing down the road that we're planning and having to stash money away for, but we look at that as like this, playful dream world time that we get to do and say what we please, then our gratification, or the delay of that gratification, should bring us happiness if we have the appropriate vision. The problem comes in when your target is, when you're calculating your triangulation. There's the hiking thing, and you're really off, and you're going for a marker that doesn't speak to who you really are. It doesn't include what you value. So if your highest value is community, and you then imagine yourself in retirement as having time to start clubs and organizations that bring fulfillment, you're going to experience joy and flow and happiness along the way to that goal. If you don't feel that connect, reevaluate the why, reevaluate the goal, because it isn't a Tesla. I mean, it's sure they're sharp, sure they're beautiful, but it's not the thing. It's the freedom, the wind in your hair. You can get that by riding your damn bike. Like you got to learn what it is you're going for, because then you're going to be wiser about the way you spend it.
Amy, you were just talking my language. Like, I love that, you speak to a lot of like straight up old school financial advisors, and they tell you how to save and like how to do this, and it doesn't paint that immediacy and that picture of the joy that comes from delayed gratification. Like, you just made it sound like, again, it's not just putting into a bucket for hopefully 30 years from now. Mm-hmm. It's really about the joy that comes every step of the way. Like, do you love what you like? Honestly, like, do you love what you do? You're so good at it.
Thank you. Oh man, you're so good at lifting people up. Yes, no, I more than ever love what I do. And that's because I'm finding this way of tapping into this type of conversation with people. It's so funny when people come in to sit down with a financial advisor. I've got this account over here, and this, and it's a constructive conversation. I mean, it's every time you just want to, I go into that initial conversation. It's like, look, you've cyber stalked me. You've seen my videos that RBJ helped me put on my website. You've seen my, bio here or there, my Facebook posts, my blog posts, all this stuff that's really only there so you can cyber stalk me. And that's all fine and good. So this conversation is about you and who you are and what you want. And so if you're walking into a financial advisor's office and they're not talking about those things in that first meeting, get the hell out of there. Chances are they work for Mofo Mutual, and they're going to sell you life insurance for every problem that you have. There's a product peddler out there, and there's a planner, right? It's not, I love money, but I love the planning. I love getting excited about, like, when you're going on a big trip with, like, I'm planning this trip to Costa Rica, I can't stop thinking about, like, all the little plans. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The process, that planning even up to it. I mean, yes, the trip is fun and wonderful, but science shows us, our brain science shows us that planning and that working towards thinking about what you want, that's where the happiness comes from. So again, going back to, like, you talking about wanting to spend and bringing more affluence and stuff, it's putting those plans in place brings more. I think some people might say, oh, you're setting a peg in the plan there, and then you have to do this or you're going to be disappointed. If you're going to let yourself play with these plans and be a little looser about it, then the actual process of it is where the joy is coming from in the first place, and the thinking about all the joy it's going to bring.
Oh my God, I love that. And then you also, like, you also work with a lovely gentleman, mm-hmm. Brilliant gentleman by the name of Eric.
Yes, my husband.
Right? Your husband.
Yes.
So you guys are a dynamic team. What does that look like when someone works with you? What does that look like? Like, how you guys kind of yin and yang? Because you guys support the person on so many levels.
That is the yin and yang. You know me. When I tell somebody that I'm a certified financial planner, financial advisor, I used to say the word stockbroker, which even got a greater response, because I can be. I've got my license, and it doesn't. People, I don't quite fit that mold, right? So they're like, okay, is this good or bad? And is this going to go? And even Eric will be like, wow, you're going to try to make money sound like summer camp? Like, what are you talking about? Because he is the kind of guy who looks and is the part. He grew up knowing. He started investing with his grandmother in stock when he was 9 years old, and he knew what he wanted to be from birth. I still try to figure out what Amy wants to be when she grows up, right? And so together, I think that's a more approachable thing. You know, you're sitting across from Mr. Financial Advisor, then you're looking through your accounts. That's all you're talking about. When you're sitting next to Mr. Financial Advisor and, you know, camp counselor, you're talking about a little bit more about, well, what if we could do this? Or, you know, what if, okay, so if money is no object, what would you be doing? Or I'm asking questions, you know, like, okay, so it is your last day of your life, right? This is it. I know what you think I'm going to ask is what, you know, what would you do with it? But no, it's what did you not get to be or do? What did you not? Yeah. So those are the types of questions that are like really hitting home. And so when we work with a couple, one of the two feels like they were drugged there, like cave person style, or to the dentist or something, like they don't want to be there. And so that person coming into the room and realizing that this conversation isn't just going to be about dollars and cents, it's going to be about what you want and who you are. It's a sigh of relief. And that makes the conversation be able to move forward. But that person who's also there, who's like, I want to make returns. I want to talk about this stock and that in this industry. I want someone who knows the macro and the, you know, I want someone who knows financial services and financial advice and the stock market better than anything. They've got that too. So there's this beautiful yin and yang for us that way. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And like I really like, I'm like so sold right now.
We
Um,
get kind of two for one, kind of, because we do kind of,
right.
we spend a lot of time with people together. I didn't mean to like jump off, but a lot of times, so a financial advisor can be an asset gatherer. They could be someone who's a salesperson who's pulling in money to plug into a really generic pie chart to, and that can work, but that's what they're doing. Or you have somebody who's really focused on investments and their knowledge and their experience can get you returns, and they probably are a fund manager, not a financial advisor, but that is another personality type of the financial. So, and then you've got these products peddlers who are just trying to feed their family and they got deadlines to make and they've got to sell as much of, they're going to sling as much shit as possible so that you buy whatever they're spitting at you, you know? So you have to be just really careful when you go out there. So I think we just give an opportunity to see a couple of different styles. And I think that's helpful for people. And peddling products is the last thing. I sell insurance if you want me to, but I think there's other solutions for your problems, you know?
Well, just the fact that you acknowledge problems, you know what I mean, or
Yeah,
challenges.
find the fear, salespeople,
Yeah.
find the fear. Like,
But I feel
what?
like, yeah, you're looking to solve the bigger issues, the deeper issues.
Yeah, yeah. I hate that sales tactics. Like I told you, I love a good salesperson, but I hate find the fear. I hate pick at someone's weakness. Does that seem like somebody you want to work with? I mean, I don't know. That's what most sales trainings will teach you. This isn't, it shouldn't be, planning shouldn't be a sale. It should be a campfire conversation that turns into, okay, we got all these options. I'm gonna show you what some of them are, and these are gonna help you get to your goal or partway to your goal. And you know what? When you get halfway there, it's gonna change. And don't worry, I'm gonna be ready for that because I see it every time. You know, we're not gonna create something that sits on a shelf and then you're gonna feel guilt or beholden to it because it is a fluid process and it's long term. And you really just want to have somebody that you can say like, I need to make this decision about this car and I need somebody to hear me out and then tell me what they think. Right?
100%. Amy, I'm like so sold right now. Yes, Amy, my final question to you. Where do people get a hold of you? Because if I would hope that my listeners are my list. I don't own them. The listeners of the RBJ Talk Show, as we've been doing this consistently, like the listeners are very much into health and wellness, very much into personal development. This really speaks to, I think, the majority of us that don't want to be. A lot of us are salespeople ourselves, right? Like we're straight commission, owning our own business. Like we don't want to be sold at by some schmo. What you're saying right now really speaks to the heart. How do people get a hold of you? Because I want people to go to you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Ron. And thanks for having me on because I've been sitting here thinking like, I want to be on an RBJ show. So thank you for
I'm
including
so
me.
sorry. I know. It's
No, I
like
love it that I'm here. Like you can get a hold of Team Duncan Financial at just that, www.teamduncanfinancial.com. If you want to go about the free gift way, it's teamduncanplan.com. If you just are curious about what your money personality is, go to moneypersonalityassessment.com, and I'll send you, it's really manual. It looks real fancy. And then I get an email and then I have to send you my spreadsheet. And then, but that's okay. It's a conversation. And that's what you need to have, is conversations about money. And so let's have one. So you can come in if you're like, oh, I'm already 5 steps beyond, I want to sit down with an advisor. You can actually make a complimentary discovery experience. And I guarantee it's not going to be about my credentials or how great I am or what returns I can provide. It's going to be about you and what you value and what you care about, and how you want to make your dreams come true. And then you're going to also feel this this understanding that we have the tools to implement that plan. It's not just all this dreamy, rocks and cards, and it's not. There's an actual plan in place, and then behind it is the investment strategies and management to make it happen.